All right, everybody, it's Rob back with another video. This is going to be a supply video, and we're going to go over the different tools that we use in the charcoal drawing game. So I put out basically what is a charcoal kit that I give to my students at the beginning of every season or at the first day of class. And I'm going to go over that kit because that way anybody that's interested in just buying the bare minimum, they can. And then you can, I'll talk about other pre-made kits, I guess you can call them, that you can buy. So I give to my students a little baggie like this. It's just a Ziploc bag. It's just to help hold on to everything. So let's go ahead and open this bag. And what do we got in this bag? So this is what I would consider the bare minimum to do charcoal drawing. Okay, as you can see, very sharp point, meaning it goes through the plastic. So there's my white charcoal pencil. Okay, here's my black charcoal, and you'll notice this one says HB hard. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but HB hard right there. There's other designations when you buy them in a kit, like a pre-made box. I'll go over that here in a second. They have extra hard, then this one, which is HB hard, then medium, soft, and extra soft. So basically there's 5 designations from the General's brand of charcoal pencils. Okay, there's other brands out there, and you're welcome to use whatever you like. This is my absolute favorite. I gotta say, the charcoal artists that I've admired over the years, they all seem to be using this. Okay, and so if you want to really get into charcoal drawing, I highly suggest getting into that particular brand. But like I said, you can even buy the cheapy stuff like the Artist Loft brand from Michaels. They come like a little packet of 3 or 4 pencils, something like that. It's usually light, medium, and soft, something like that, or hard, medium, and soft. And that's just basically their amount of darkness, their blackness. Okay, how they gradate. So your hard or your light would be very light lines. Your medium would be slightly darker, and of course your soft or your darks would be very dark lines. That's all that means. Okay, so let's continue with this kit. So we got the white charcoal pencil, the HB Hard General's pencil there. We also have a pencil extender. Okay, I love this. This is the best thing to spend money on because it doesn't waste away the way a pencil does. As you can see, I'll just open this packet up here in a minute. Well, they really package the hell out of these things. There we go. It's just basically a wooden handle. It's got a metal piece here, and it's got a little ring that slides down and up. When you slide it down, it loosens up this end. I don't know if you can see that little crease right there, that little opening with my fingernail. And then as I slide it up, it closes up and then gets basically round or tight around the opening to hold the pencil. Don't be one of those people that gets a brand spanking new pencil and does this number. Okay, that's just dumb. This is dumb. Okay, the reason is it's because it's too long to manage and to really use effectively. I see people do it, and it cracks me up. I tell myself, don't do that, because it's just very uncomfortable to draw with something this long. Okay, it's not necessary. The whole purpose of a pencil extender is as you're sharpening your pencil, it starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. When it gets down to, you know, probably half the pencil, depending on the size hand, I got large hands, so it takes about half the pencil, and then it starts getting uncomfortable for me to hold it. So when it gets to about half the pencil or less, whatever is uncomfortable for you, you just slide it in, you slide the ring back up, it holds it, done. Okay, very, very simple, not overly complex. There's nothing really amazing about it, but that's that. So there's my pencil extender. What else we got in here? Inside this little napkin, I always put it on a napkin just because it's such a mess. It's just a piece of black charcoal, okay? Just a big old piece of charcoal. Looks like a pastel piece. In fact, you could probably use black pastel, but this is charcoal, okay? I bought a big old box of a dozen of these things, so I get them cheaper that way. So this is for really dark, large areas. So think background. Think a hat or a big dress, a dark dress, I should say, or dark hair. Anything that is a very large area, you would want to use this because you could put it on the side or break in half and get kind of like an inch long or something, versus a tiny little point like this. Can you imagine trying to do a decent size, almost life-size portrait, and you went in there with this little tiny point? You'd be there, for centuries trying to get it done. So for that reason, I use the big black charcoal brick right there, okay? What else we got in this little goodies bag? And of course, a kneaded eraser, okay? This is your go-to eraser, your kneaded eraser. This is what you want to go to every single time you have to erase. There are hard white erasers out there, okay? And people buy them because they get a lot more of your mistakes off the surface. I find that when people are so worried about getting the mistakes off the surface, they're usually people that are making a crazy amount of mistakes that can easily be addressed by pressure and, of course, practice. If you press so hard with your pencil, especially with something as dark as charcoal, okay, but even with graphite pencil, graphite being, of course, your number 2 pencil you all flunk your test with in school. If you press too hard, you'll put grooves wherever you press hard into your paper that are gonna just soak up all that charcoal, and it's gonna be impossible for you to actually get rid of them, okay? So it's basically has to do with pressure, and I'm gonna address pressure in a little bit when I talk about how to hold your pencil, because there is an actual artsy kind of way of holding a pencil. I never see anybody ever talk about it, so I always talk about it to my students because that one little thing is extremely helpful at improving your work tremendously, because you can erase your lines right away, okay? Hard white erasers, the ones that look like little rectangles, any hard white eraser, they're hard because they're hard, okay? When you use them on your surface, it starts to damage your paper. And if you erase the same area more than once, you are really, really damaging your paper. And then you start wondering, man, I can't, it doesn't even take any more marks. I mean, what's going on here? What ends up happening is you start buffing the surface by erasing with such a hard eraser that it makes it almost like ice. And then you go over with charcoal, or pretty much anything, and it just doesn't want to take, because the paper, on a molecular level, I guess, it's becoming really, really smooth. Almost like really finely sanded wood, and paper is basically wood. And so it just doesn't want to take any more material, okay? So use light pressure, and of course, use your kneaded eraser. This won't damage the surface of your paper. And of course, you can then bend it and twist it and make little points and edges so you can, do other effects with it. So there's that. Here's a stump. There's blending stumps and tortillions, I think they're called. The other one, the tortillions are the ones that are the, basically they look like rolled up newspaper. They're hollow. To me, they're too soft. I've never liked them. I don't use tortillions. I use these stumps. As you can see, they're solid, rolled up, compressed paper, I guess, but they're solid. They're not hollow on the inside. And I like these more than the other ones that when you look at it, it only has one pointy end, and the other end is round and hollow. Because then you can blend with this very gently and very aggressively at the same time. Okay, so there's your blending stump. Never use your fingers when it comes to working in charcoal or graphite, okay? Don't use your fingers. It's very amateur. It looks terrible. People, they get into blending with their fingers, and it becomes like some sort of weird obsession, like a drug, and they become like crack addicts, and they're just blending all over the place. Oh, blend this, blend that, and it just looks like crap. You got fingerprints everywhere. It looks terrible. Don't use your finger, okay? Use a blending stump or a brush, and I'll go into that a little bit too. And of course, my business card, I always get to my students. Put that over there. And here is a razor blade. As you can see, all I did was just a regular razor blade. I just folded tape over the sharp edge of it, okay? And that's just so they don't get cut, okay? And so it's got this little round edge where you can grab it. You can buy a pack of these for like, I don't know, a couple bucks at Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace like that, okay? So really good. Why a razor blade? This is how I sharpen. I sharpen with a razor blade. I don't sharpen with a sharpener. Sharpeners are worthless. I've used probably every sharpener ever made, and I can't find a sharpener that works. Electric sharpeners, they'll all work probably in the very beginning, and then you just have one nightmare of a time trying to make it not break your point, because charcoal is a lot softer than graphite. Okay, so that's the basic toolkit. Something else my students get, let me just move this stuff aside, is this sketchbook. As you can see, I like this sketchbook because you can go, usually you can't find this size, 11 by 14, at Michael's, okay, your regular little art store nearby. They only have usually the 9 by 12, so it's slightly smaller than this, okay? And that's fine. But what I like about this is that Strathmore makes a very inexpensive toned paper. This one's toned gray. There's another one that says toned tan, and of course it's like a yellowy tan color. Okay, so there's a sketchbook. I've been giving these sketchbooks in my kit for the entire time I've been teaching. I find them to be just a great way of giving students toned paper without getting overly expensive, because some of the other brands are very, very expensive and, you know, kind of out of most people's budget, especially when I'm paying for all these supplies and then they're paying me back. It just becomes a nightmare. This is very good, and you can easily get it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, or, you know, any craft store will likely have it. So that's the ones that I like. I like 9 by 12s if I got to travel, because they're smaller. But my ultimate favorite in class uses this 24 sheet, and it says right down here, I don't know if you see it, 11 by 14. This is what I give my students. I don't like the 9 by 12 for my students in class because it's a little small, and so it kind of limits to what we can do in class, okay? And we'll go, as we film more stuff, we'll go into what that means. So let's say you have a ready-made kit. This is the one I like, okay? It has this girl with her hand to her face and she's leaning over a chair or something. Sometimes manufacturers will change the picture, so be aware of that. But this is the one I like. It's number 15, as you can see right here, okay? Because they have different numbers. So you look at this and maybe they don't have this at your local art store, so you may have to buy it online on Amazon, someplace like that, okay? Why this one? Because it brings everything that I recommend, okay? There's the crappy sharpener. Here's the General's brand of that big black charcoal that I was talking about earlier. Here's just I don't remember the name of this brand, but this is what I got. It's thicker and soft. Same thing over here. Here's some white and black. I don't like these white and black. It's a little too waxy for me, from my personal taste, but whatever. And it's missing. Down here, let me put it back. It would take a kneaded eraser. So it's pretty much everything in my class all put in, but it brings a bunch of extra pencils that I don't give my students. It brings the extra soft, this charcoal sketching pencil. I never really quite understood why that is different. It's just a really black charcoal, whatever. Here's an extra soft, a soft, a medium, an extra soft again. There's the HB hard, and there's the white. Again, I only use the HB hard, and I use the medium on occasion if it needs to get darker, and then rarely do I use the really dark ones like the soft or the extra soft. Usually that's for really dark areas like the hair, and then I jump into the big brick I spoke about earlier. So I really don't use the soft and extra soft. It's just not really something I need a lot. A lot of times people will start with the really dark one right off the bat. To me, that's a mistake, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to run into a nightmare and just a big gray black mess. You're going to have powder all over the place. It's just going to be messy. It's not going to look pretty. So in my opinion, stick with the HB hard, okay? This one doesn't bring the extra soft, or excuse me, the extra hard, but usually it does. It's actually got an extra soft, so maybe it's a mistake, but this is the kit that I recommend. If you're at home and you've never met me and you have no access to me. If not, if you're one of my students that see me on a weekly basis, I hope you're all doing healthy during this coronavirus thing. Happy Easter. It's Easter Sunday today, by the way. You know I sell those pencils individually, so you don't have to go out and buy this big old box just to get the one pencil that you need. Okay, so let's set that aside. And of course, a chamois. Here's the brand that I like. Okay, Chamois used to be that guy on TV, and he did his thing. Well, here's a chamois. I don't use this humongous thing. I cut a little rectangle about, I don't know, 3 by 4 or something like that, and that's basically what I use to blend large areas. And I'll talk about how to use them and go into that in another video where you'll actually see me using them. And here is a tub of butter. It's actually an old tub of butter. And then my student, a very nice, beautiful lady, actually took the lid off. If you flip it around, it's screen sandpaper, the kind that the what do you call these guys? The plaster guys use inside your home when they do drywall. So you're gonna go to the drywall area in your hardware store, or you're gonna go to like the paint department where they have a whole section on sandpaper, and it looks like screen, like from the screen from your back door. Okay, I don't know. Hopefully you guys can see that clearly. And it looks like screen from a back door. Okay, but it is not the same screen from a door. Okay, don't buy that, because that comes in a huge roll, and it's just, that's dumb. That is not the same thing. This has like an aggregate put onto it to make it kind of rough. Okay, so you're gonna buy the one that says fine, F-I-N-E, fine. You don't want medium or coarse or anything like that, because it will just, it's just gonna destroy your pencil. So fine, and then by gluing it to the bottom of this lid, I can hold all my garbage in here. As you can see, got a little bit of charcoal. Now notice that I segregate my colors. You got black on this side, you got my red in the middle, and then you got the white over here. Why do I do that? Because if you were to sharpen your white pencil, okay, on any spot here, anything, right, you just did it haphazardly, you go into the black area, it's going to pick that charcoal up. Let me see if I can show you real quick. So yeah, I go into the black side, and you see how my pencil got really nasty. Then I draw, it's going to transfer that charcoal onto my drawing. So you don't want to do that. Try to have one area for black, one area for red, and one area for white. Why do I have red? Because I like doing red chalk drawing. That's just one of those things that I do as a side thing. Maybe I'll do a demo on that, and we'll record it and have it for you guys. There's a little Ziploc bag. This is how I store this container. Once I take, you know, at the end of the day, I'll take the lid off, dump the charcoal, or you can even collect it, okay, and then use it for shading or something if you want. And then I put it in there, I zip it up, and that way I can transport this without having to worry about making a mess. You can see how messy it is. My hands are already full of charcoal just from this little talk. Okay, so how do I carry my supplies? I went to Hawaii a few years ago. Okay, highly recommend Hawaii. Great place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there. Nice place, just really, really expensive. So here is my little tin can of macadamia nuts. Okay, took a tour, bought a bunch of these because I like chocolate, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep these. And as you can see, I use a clip. Okay, this is something else that goes in my kit. These clips. And I just hold that, and I use some tape to use as a hinge. And I pop this open. And there it is. It's more than enough for any charcoal project. This is a big fluffy brush, and basically it's used to just clean away any dirty areas where you have some eraser residue or something. These are brushes that I use for blending, okay? They're soft brushes, not too soft, not as soft as this. This has to be soft so it doesn't smudge everything. This is soft so for blending. You just don't want a stiff brush or an overly soft brush that just kind of does this, and a really soft brush just does that, because as you can imagine, this isn't gonna, something as soft as this, it's not gonna move the material around much, so it's gonna waste of time. Here are two bristle brushes that are relatively soft. I like these, I've had them for years. You can see the round one, how it's got almost a pyramid shape from me blending with it. You can experiment, there's different brushes out there. And here's a filbert, number 2 filbert, and the other one was a number 2 round. Okay, again, for blending, and you'll see me use it throughout demonstrations I'm going to do in the future. And then a barbecue skewer, okay? This stick here is just for me to do this. It's for my measurements, okay? When I go over comparative measurements, you're going to want something like this, or you could just use a pencil, no big deal. These little Ziploc bags are great, okay? these bags right here for this one, you can see it's all dark. It has black charcoal pieces, okay? Like that big black charcoal I showed you earlier. Well, I got about a half a piece right here. And what that does, it keeps everything from getting all messy. This is for my erasers. There you can see my kneaded eraser right there, okay? And here's my hard white eraser. I've had this for years, and you can see it's not very used. It's just dirty. And the reason is, because I said it earlier, you don't want a hard white eraser. It's just not your, it shouldn't be your go-to eraser, I'll put it that way. And here's something I saw an artist use one time, and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool, so I bought it. It's by no means a necessary thing. 99% of my work, I never use this tool. But I like showing it to my students. It's like a little spatula or painter's knife or whatever, but it's not. It's from this company, Soft with 2 F's. And you just, as you can see, it's dirty. And you just go in there and you just blend with this. Just another blending tool, just like the brush and the stump and everything else. Here's my chamois. Remember I told you I cut a little rectangle. Same material, but as you can see, that is a lot of drawing, right? You don't get good at anything, okay, by magic. You get good by practice. That is a lot of drawing, okay? I've had this for a few years and I've already worn a hole in it. I just fold it up like this because it makes it more comfortable. Put my finger like that, and that's how I blend. So that's that. A little half circle ruler my kid gave me. More junk. Oh, here we go. Here's a great eraser. It's a hard eraser, so again, you want to depend on your kneaded eraser, okay? My kneaded eraser is my go-to eraser. Right there. Okay, my kneaded eraser. Okay. These right here, see how this one's like half the size of this one? Okay, but it's the same damn thing. It's a hard white eraser. It's just round. It's actually a cylinder, and I shave it with my knife to get like a point on it, okay? And what that does is it allows me to get into eyes, do fine hair, whatever. It's for little tiny areas. Highly recommend these. I don't know, you don't need anything this small, but I got it. I think a student of mine gave it to me as a gift one time. This is what I always use and recommend. Generals also makes these erasers. That's a great company. I can't remember. I want to say they're between $6 to $10, and I bought it, I believe, was on Amazon. So you can look for it. It's a General's. I don't remember the name. I think it was called Factus mechanical eraser. I want to say it's something like that. I call it click eraser, but that's that. To organize myself in my box, okay, just common sense. I use this little plastic tray from one of my pastel pencil kits I either gave to my kids or something. I just kept the plastic, and it just makes it for a great way to hold on to my pencils so they're not rolling around, breaking their points and everything else. This is how you want to sharpen a pencil, by the way. I don't know if you can see that. See how it's like a spear. See that? That's how you want to sharpen. That way you get really, really nice, beautiful lines. It makes blending much easier. And why these razors right here? Why this razor blade, by the way? They hold a point better and longer and sharper than the more obvious answer, which is an X-Acto knife. I tried X-Acto knives. I've had them before. I just find them to be a nightmare. X-Acto knives are, the edge gets really dull really fast. And most people are lazy. They don't change the blade. And what ends up happening is just a nightmare waiting to happen. You're going to cut yourself. Okay? This razor blade, you can see it's pretty old, beat up. Right? I've had it for a long time. That's a lot of sharpening. Right? As long as I'm not using this thing on concrete or on 2x4s, okay, then you're good. You're going to be just doing pencils. So that's the basic kit and some other stuff that you can go out and buy. And here's my stump, my pencils and stuff. Here's my red pencil, red pastel pencil I was talking about earlier, if I can get it out. Okay, I like number 645 by Stabilo Carbothello pastel pencils. Okay, that's what I like to use for my red chalk drawing. So that's everything in a nutshell. That's all the stuff, the supplies. You get yourself, you know, something like this. Okay, you're good. You're just going to use the one pencil out of it, the HB Hard, and that's going to be your go-to pencil. And then I'll talk more about that in upcoming videos. All right, I hope you enjoy. Good luck.